What is up, guys? So, this is my presentation on how to fuel for CrossFit. So, as we know, CrossFit is one of the most challenging things that you can do. It encompasses it's so multidiscipline that you've got all different energy systems firing. One workout, you might be sort of doing intervals and sprints. The next time you're doing sort of weightlifting and 1 rep maxes. So, um, such a multidiscipline sport that we need to be able to fuel correctly. So CrossFit is only one of the only sports that actually encourages athletes to fuel properly. So you'll hear a lot of the elite athletes speaking about how actually fueling properly is their priority. Aesthetics are like a second thought, and it probably naturally comes because of like the training that's required, and obviously eating a good diet. So what does fueling properly mean? So at the end of the day, CrossFit and any activity burns calories. So that's the body's currency for energy, just to put it simply. Like I said, being such a multidiscipline sport, variety in our diet becomes more important to keep all of those cylinders firing, fueling all of those energy systems as best we can. And everything that we eat and drink, it's made up of carbs, fats and proteins, which are our macronutrients. And ensuring that we have enough energy to allow our body to perform optimally is essential for progression, and being able to sort of come away from a session or go into a session feeling fueled and feeling like you have that energy to sustain that output throughout your session. So, understanding macronutrients, so carbohydrates, it is our body's preferred source of energy. It's converted to glucose. Any glucose that isn't used up is stored as glycogen in our muscles, liver and blood. So when you hear the term sort of carbing up, sort of before an event, it's to make sure that those stores are kind of topped up and I guess full, ready for our body to utilise throughout exercise. When it comes to performance, you want to have anywhere between 1 to 3 grams per kilo of body weight. And that will be sufficient on a day-to-day basis to make sure that you are fueled efficiently when it comes to carbs. So don't be avoiding them. Fats have in the past been demonized, and it's something that people tend to cut out or go for low-fat options, but there's so many benefits to like dietary fat. So you're thinking like your monosaturated, polysaturated fats. You want to try and avoid the trans fats, which are like the human-made ones. So things like avocado, olive oils, nuts, seeds, those sorts of things are all good fats that your body is gonna make use of. So fat is our secondary source of energy when glycogen is depleted, and it does help our body absorb fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E and K, which each kind of play their part in our overall health and how we feel. So that's one major benefit of it. And then you've got recovery hormones. If fat intake helps that, so recovering between sessions, and immune system as well. It does preserve glycogen stores, so when you've got like a longer workout, so if you think like what was that one called with the running pull-ups and squats? Cindy? It's not Cindy. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's gone from my mind. But longer workouts, you're going to want to allow your body to have lots of different avenues to get that energy from. When it comes to fat, 0.5 to 1.2 grams per kilo of body weight is recommended. So everyone responds slightly differently to fat intake and carbohydrate intake. So it's just figuring out and listening to your body, kind of understanding how your body responds to those things, and adjusting from there. Protein, the one that we hear so much about. So protein is like a muscle and cell building tool. So if we think about it like that, so it's almost like the building blocks to our muscles, skin, nails, like hair, those sorts of things. So it's not just about muscle building, but on this particular subject, that's going to be our primary concern, is muscle gain and muscle sort of retention. So protein's made up of amino acids. There's non-essential and essential. Essential are required through our diet because our body doesn't produce them, and amino acids determine whether a protein is complete or incomplete. Now, to put it simply, the complete proteins are animal-based products, so your chicken, breast, meat, sort of beef, fish, those sorts of things. Incomplete, you've got nuts, beans, and any other food that has at least one amino acid missing. Goals here for performance are making sure that we maintain muscle mass and continue to sort of build muscle mass, which should be our goal, is 1.2 to 2.2 grams per kilo of your body weight. In terms of protein and which sources to use, so I always encourage clients to go for the sort of meat-based ones, or obviously plant-based as well, and get it through food rather than through supplements. But supplement-wise, you've got whey protein, and then there's casein. So what's the difference between them? So whey protein is fast absorbing, so a really good option to have like pre-workout or post-workout if you're gonna go down that route. And casein is a really good one to have in the evening. It's a slow release protein. Essentially, the way that casein's kind of digested and metabolized, it creates a bit of a gel, which sounds really gross, but it almost creates like a gel, which just slowly digests through our system. So it's a very good one to have overnight to kind of get a consistent and slow release of protein whilst we sleep. That will be things like your Greek yogurt, like skyr yogurt, and you can buy it in powder form as well. Micronutrients are often forgotten about, and the amount of people I speak to that don't have enough fruit and vegetables it just baffles me. Anyway, trying to think about sort of, I guess, the more colours is more nutrients. I'm always sort of banging on about that. And why do we need it? So it is supporting our immune system, which at the end of the day, the stronger your immune system, healthier you're going to be, the more you can train, the more results you get. You kind of see where I'm going with that one. So you've got immune support, so micronutrients in fruit and veg support immune function, allowing you to fight illnesses and stay healthy, perform your best. Got gut health, so prebiotics in vegetables like asparagus, bananas, onions, leeks. They feed good bacteria, so good ones to include. And again, like I said, think more colours is more nutrients. So just a few examples here. So your oranges and yellows contain beta-carotene, which converts to vitamin A in the body, which is going to aid bone growth and collagen synthesis, as well as maintenance of connective tissue and muscle tissue. Purple, can't see it behind my head, but purple fruits contain antioxidants which can help reduce inflammation. So when you train, your muscles become inflamed, and let's say, for example, you've had leg day and you can feel that you've had leg day, your legs are like a little bit pumped. Things like blueberries, blackberries, purple potatoes, like anything with purple in is going to help reduce inflammation. Now, in order to make sure that you're eating enough, it's good to have a rough idea of how many calories that you need in a day to kind of meet that. So working out your BMR, there's a few calculations here. There's a really simple one. I won't go through that now, but you can I can send this over and you can have these calculations to do yourself. So once you've got that, you then need to work out how active you are throughout the day. So if you have a desk job, you're fairly sedentary for quite a lot of the day. If you're like a personal trainer or a builder, you're very active. So it's figuring out where you are on this scale. So let's say you have a desk job, you'll times that BMR number by 1.1. And then you need to work out how much exercise expenditure you have in the week. So let's say, for example, you train 5 times a week. You do, 2 lots of conditioning, 3 lots of weightlifting. On average, you burn like 400 calories per session, so that's 2,000 calories per week through exercise. So you then add that on, so you times the number that you've got with your BMR times that PAL, times that by 7, add on your activity and then divide it by 7, and that gives us your maintenance calories. And in terms of a macronutrient split, when it comes to performance, carbs do become more important. So having a slightly elevated amount of carbs in your diet is going to be real positive. So I tend to suggest sort of 45% makeup of carbs, 25% protein and 30% fat. So like it just says there, lower protein intake and increased carbs. So sometimes protein is over-egged a bit. There is like a minimum amount and there's like a maximum amount, but there's only so much that your body can absorb. So you actually want to be getting energy and calories from your carbs and fats, which is ultimately going to provide you with that energy to keep going. Structuring meals and snacks around training can be really important. It can help making sure you're fueled, ready for that session, and refuel after it. So things to consider. So what time do you train? Are you like a 6 a.m. person and you think, oh yeah, I just cannot eat before then? Or you train in the evening but you don't like the feeling of, I don't know, maybe being full and just put off eating for a sustained amount of time. So let's say you have lunch at 1 but you train at 6 and you don't have anything in between. That's a long time in between your sessions. So it's thinking about things that you can maybe incorporate in just like an hour to 2 hours before that, or think about liquid carbs. So Lucozade Sport is a really good option. It's one of my go-tos if I've got like a longer session on. Easily digestible, just carbs that your body's just going to use up straight away. Other things to consider is how long your session will be, and like I said, sort of things like liquid carbs, so you can even buy that in powder, to be honest, and mix it with water, or Lucozade Sport, use that as an intra workout. So by that I mean it's sort of topping up those stores as you go through your session, but without like consuming a full-on meal. And like I said, how do you feel when you eat before training? Do you struggle to eat afterwards? Like, what are your challenges? So once you've identified your challenges, we can then start to like tailor nutrition around that. So looking at different options that are going to work. Sometimes there's like an adjustment period with like getting used to that feeling, but it will pay off. So just I guess some rough numbers like to work with just as a guide. So carbohydrates, you want to aim for 1 gram per kilogram of your body weight, sort of around an hour to an hour and a half before. So that might be a banana and Lucozade Sport. It might be banana and like a small bagel or normal bagel. Squares bars are really good, and Saurine is always a good one just to get some carbs in. And you also get the fructose as well, which fructose and glucose metabolize slightly differently. So again, it's just giving your body access to different energy stores. Adding a source of protein will also be beneficial just to kickstart muscle protein synthesis. So that is where our like gains are made. That's when our muscles start breaking down protein and using them to like grow and repair and rebuild. Caffeine as well. I know there's like a massive Nocco hype, like every CrossFit gym is like surrounded by Nocco. I'm not 100% for them, but I get why people do it. If you're buying it because of the BCAAs, without saying it, like basically wasting your money, but obviously you get that caffeine hit as well. So caffeine prior to exercise has been shown to improve performance. Post-workout meals, so best option is to refuel with a mixed meal. So you've heard of like the anabolic window, so that's where you need to get some food or protein in before your muscles start to like break down and all that stuff. So the research shows that window isn't quite as strict as perhaps it's been made out to be before. So time frame on that one is 1 to 3 hours post workout. So if you can get a substantial meal in within that amount of time, which I think for most people that's doable, then you're absolutely fine. Your muscles aren't going to just disappear. So refuel with a mixed meal. That means like including protein, carbs, fats, and then some micronutrients. Just get some veggies or fruit in there. With this, you want to aim for 0.3 to 0.5 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. So that's making sure that you're giving your body enough protein to grow and repair and rebuild after your session. And then carbs to replenish glycogen stores. So making sure that you're topping up those stores again, so that you're ready to like either go for a second session or just recover in between your training days. And fats as well to aid recovery. So lots to think about, and it's trying not to overcomplicate it. So just think nice and simple. Right, I've got my carbs, I've got my protein, I've got my fats there, and some vegetables or a piece of fruit, and you're good to go. So carbs are essential. So when it comes to training, if you go low carb, you'll know about it. Think glass half empty versus glass full. So a lot of CrossFit is strength training, and that is a glycolytic process. And by that, it relies on the breakdown of carbs to produce energy to fuel muscle contraction. So that's why I'm forever banging on about carbs. So if anyone tells me they're doing low carb in CrossFit, well, I'll have a word. Fast twitch fibers, which again are used in like 75% of CrossFit workouts, they'll use the glycogen stores faster than slow twitch. So give your muscles the fuel that they need to work for longer. An intake of protein alongside carbs will initiate protein synthesis, like I've mentioned. So that is where we're going to make gains. And then adding some fat to your pre-workout can actually help with energy stores, but depending on how you react to that, because it's slower digesting, you may want to like reconsider it. It's just a bit of like trial and error with that one. But it will help if you've got like an endurance session planned. Murph's the one I was thinking about. Anyway, my brain, like 10 seconds there of like inside my brain. So hydration, massively underestimated, and again, on top of fruits and vegetables intake, water intake is something that I'm forever baffled with, that people do not drink like basically hardly anything. So your goal should be between 2 and 3 litres per day as a minimum. If you're someone that only has like 500 mils in a day, don't like overwhelm yourself and go straight to 2 litres or 3 litres a day. Build it up slowly, because your body will get used to it and you'll actually crave it and want it. Even 2% dehydration can impact performance, because it does inhibit efficient absorption of nutrients. So again, hydration is key for recovery. So anyone that's had whoop before or has it now is probably identified, like when you have a drink, alcoholic, or not enough water or not enough sleep, your recovery is just going to go like way down. So water, it helps with recovery, flushes out toxins, transport nutrients, and being hydrated reduces fatigue. So when you start feeling a bit sluggish, it's probably because you're thirsty rather than hungry. And our body and heart has to work hard to like pump blood around. So many benefits to water intake. How to identify whether you've got good or bad hydration. So I'm sure we've all seen this before, but the urine colour chart. So if your urine is looking a little bit like iron brew, then you've got some issues. So think about checking that out sort of before your training. Make sure you're hydrated. Just try and have a like reasonable intake of water before you train, just to make sure that you go into it feeling hydrated. Otherwise, you're just playing catch up all the time. Supplements. So I get questions a lot about supplements and what I would suggest. So these are my top three. Most researched supplements, so lots of benefits, especially when it comes to training. So creatine, dosage wise, is a loading phase. So to begin with, it's 4 times 5 grams per day for 7 days, and then 5 grams per day thereafter. Reasons to take creatine. So it does increase muscular endurance, which again is great for CrossFit. Increased glycogen storage, again very good for CrossFit. Improved cognitive function, so just alertness and those sorts of things. And training quality and recovery can improve. So it's almost like a no-brainer. Vitamin D, so dosage is 2,500 to 4,000 IU per day. The reasons why: so improves immune system, improves bone health, reduces depressive symptoms, and reduces fatigue. Obviously the sun is coming out, which is nice, but topping it up is highly recommended. Omega-3, so it's a great anti-inflammatory. So you've got things like salmon and like nuts and stuff that contain omega-3, but again, topping that up if you train quite hard, it's going to help muscular strength, cardiovascular health, and muscular function. Sleep and recovery. So sleep is massively underestimated, and I think it's becoming more of a thing in not necessarily just CrossFit, but sort of the fitness industry in general, and putting focus on recovery. Because if you're not recovering well between sessions, you're almost not going into the sessions with the right intent or necessarily feeling your best. So look at how many hours of sleep you get per night. What's your sleep quality like? Do you have lots of interruptions or disturbances? Those sorts of things. Are you eating enough brain food? So that, again, omega-3 is a very good one to help with that. Things like fish, avocados, vegetables, like those sorts of things. All brain food that's going to help you switch off and have a healthy brain. And are you on your phone until the last minute? So there's lots of research around circadian rhythms, and that's like light dark cycle and sleep wake and so on. So our brain, there's like certain processes that go on in our brain that's linked to circadian rhythms, which is our kind of central body clock, basically, to put it simply. And if you are going to bed like looking at your white light on your phone, that's gonna put back the time that you actually get to fall asleep, because your brain is still in that like light mode rather than dark mode. And caffeine intake is one to review. If you do struggle to sleep, what's your caffeine intake like? When do you kind of have a cutoff? In terms of caffeine, so the half-life of caffeine is 6 to 12 hours. So I don't know why they do it in half-life, but we'll go with it. So let's say you have a coffee at 12 o'clock, like midday. Half of that caffeine is still going to be in your system 12 hours later. Crazy, right? Okay, so mindset and behaviour change. So this is a massive one because, like, especially when it comes to any sort of nutrition, whatever your goal is, you have to have a clear goal and you have to kind of sometimes have different priorities. So, like, identifying what your fork in the road is. So, do you have a supportive partner? Do you have a supportive other half that is on board with what you're trying to achieve? Is that going to be a fork in the road? Because you're not on like the same wavelength. It's just identifying things like that, and kind of what you can compromise and what you're willing to change. And in terms of CrossFit, it is all about progression. So there's so many elements to it. So ensuring that we are fueled enough and feel happy with moving away from that like weight loss mindset or dieting mindset, because the better you can perform, the better your body's going to react. The more your body reacts to those like changes that are happening, that's where the aesthetics come in, because the training is paying off. You're training harder, you're moving better, it's all of those things. So moving away from dieting mindset and eating with purpose, and training with a purpose. So like I said before, like training with the intent and eating with the intent that diet that you've chosen and the foods that you're choosing is going to help you towards your goal. So mindset and behaviour change continued. So where to start? So examining your habits. So what are your current habits? Like, how do you manage your nutrition at the moment? How do you structure it around training? And how are you feeling in training? Like, ask yourself those things. And then it's focusing on what you can do. So not necessarily what you can't do, it's what you can do to kind of take steps towards that goal. So working with your body and not against it is a massive one. So just listening to your body, fueling it right, keeping it hydrated, all of those good things, and then slowing down to speed up. So make a plan to like take a step back and think, right, this is where I'm at the moment, this is where I want to be, what do I need to do to get there? And then take action that has intent. So the intent is a key word on this presentation. So take action that has intent and a reason behind it. If you listen to Matt Fraser, everything he did on his day-to-day, and we're not all Matt Fraser, but everything he did, it was with intent and purpose to reach his goals. And any questions? So hopefully you've learnt a lot in that, but any questions, please let me know or give me a shout.